There are many kinds of silence. There's the silence of anger, when two people wait to see who will speak first. There's the silence of pride, when neither side wants to admit fault. And then there's the silence of games, when she withholds her words just to see if you'll chase. But above them all, there is one silence greater than the rest. The silence that doesn't wait for a reply. The silence that isn't temporary. The silence that signals the end. The silence that says, without a single word spoken, "This is over. I am done. I will not return." At first, she doesn't recognize it. She thinks you're playing like before. She assumes you're trying to get a reaction, trying to win her attention, trying to pull her back into the same cycle you both lived in for too long. She believes you'll break, because in the past, you always did. She believes the silence is temporary because she never imagined you strong enough to make it permanent. But time has a way of exposing truth. A day of silence can be brushed off. A week can be ignored. But when the weeks stretch into months, when the absence becomes normal, when she looks at her phone and realizes your name hasn't lit it up in what feels like forever, that's when the truth begins to sink in. And here is the truth. You didn't just go silent. You went silent forever. You didn't just withdraw to punish her. You withdrew to heal yourself. You didn't just stop talking. You stopped participating in the cycle that broke you. That is what makes this silence different. It isn't a strategy. It isn't revenge. It isn't a trick. It is recovery. The silence of forever carries a weight she never expected. Because temporary silence can be explained away. She can wait it out. She can assume you'll return. But forever silence is a door slammed shut. It is a bridge burned. It is a declaration she can feel in her bones. You are not coming back. This is the silence of Stoic recovery. A silence rooted in dignity, in discipline, in finality. A silence that doesn't ache for closure because it is the closure. A silence that doesn't seek to punish her, but instead releases you. And when she finally realizes this silence is not temporary, that she has lost you, not for now, but for good, that is when the lesson lands. That is when your absence transforms from strategy into eternity. And here's the paradox. You don't even need her to realize it, because this silence isn't for her, it's for you. It's the moment you stop living for someone else's validation and begin living for your own peace. Brothers, if this message resonates with you, stand firm with me, like this video, subscribe to Stoic Blessing, and comment below if you felt the power of choosing silence forever. Together, we rise beyond the noise. Every story has a cycle, the arguments, the apologies, the promises to change, the disappointment that follows. You know the cycle well. It's the endless loop of giving more than you received, of chasing someone who only ran faster, of explaining yourself to ears that were never listening. At first, the cycle feels unbreakable. You convince yourself that maybe this time will be different. Maybe if you say the right words, she'll finally hear you. Maybe if you prove your loyalty again, she'll finally value it. Maybe if you hold on just a little longer, she'll finally stay. And so the cycle repeats, again and again and again. But the truth is, cycles don't end when the other person changes. Cycles end when you change. When you decide that your dignity matters more than being heard. When you decide that your peace matters more than her attention. When you decide that the same painful loop is not your fate but your prison, and you choose to walk out of it. That's what forever silence really is, the breaking of the cycle, not for her sake, but for yours. You are no longer the man who explains himself into exhaustion. You are no longer the man who texts paragraphs only to receive one-word replies. You are no longer the man who believes love means suffering endlessly just to prove your worth. The cycle ends the moment you stop participating, the moment you withdraw from the argument, the moment you refuse to return to a game that only ever drained you. That is the silence of recovery, not silence because you're waiting, not silence because you're angry, silence because you're free. And here's what makes this silence different. She expected pauses, but not endings. She expected breaks, but not forever. She counted on you returning to the cycle, because that's what always happened. But this time, you chose yourself. You ended the story not with a bang, not with a speech, but with silence. And that silence is final. No one more chance. No, maybe someday. No, if she changes, I'll come back. Number. The cycle is broken. The door is shut. The silence is forever. This is the wisdom of Stoic recovery. Understanding that the only way to win a rigged game is not to play it. And when you refuse to play, you don't just end the cycle, you end the hold it had over you. Every man comes to a crossroads. One path leads back into the cycle, back into noise, back into pleading, back into proving yourself to someone who will never truly see you. The other path? Silence, final silence. The kind that is not a tactic, not a strategy, but a choice, an irrevocable choice. This is the moment where strength is tested, because walking away once is easy. Anyone can storm out after an argument, anyone can swear they're done in the heat of the moment. But true finality is not born in fire. It is born in calm. It is the quiet decision you make when your emotions settle, when your clarity returns, when you finally understand that the price of staying is greater than the pain of leaving. That's the silence of forever. It is not weakness, it is not avoidance, it is power, the power of choosing not to return, the power of cutting off the rope that tied you to endless disappointment, the power of saying without words, you no longer have access to me. And this choice changes everything. Because once you decide the silence is forever, you remove the illusion of return. She may wait for a text that never comes. She may expect another attempt, another apology, another gesture, but nothing arrives. Days pass, weeks pass, and slowly it dawns on her, your silence is not temporary, it is permanent. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That is the essence of this choice. You no longer say what isn't heard. You no longer do what isn't respected. You no longer play a part in what isn't true. And the moment you embrace this irrevocable choice, something shifts inside you. You stop living for her reaction. You stop waiting for her recognition. You stop bleeding energy into a void. Instead, you turn inward. You reclaim your time. You rebuild your strength. You restore your dignity. That's why the silence of forever is so powerful. It frees you first. She will feel the weight of it later. She will notice it in the emptiness. But you will already be walking the path of recovery, untouchable, unstoppable, unchained. Because the greatest choice a man can make is not to prove himself to her. It is to prove himself to himself. And silence is the proof. She never thought the day would come. Not really. In her mind, you were permanent. You were the one who always came back, the one who always forgave, the one who always broke first. She counted on it. She built her pride on it. She told herself, no matter what happens, he'll always be there. He'll always try again. And at first, she had reason to believe it. Because you did come back. You fought for her when she pushed you away. You explained yourself when she misunderstood you. You reached out even when she gave you silence. You held on longer than most men ever would. That became the pattern, and she mistook it for forever. But the truth is, every man has a breaking point. Every man has a moment when he wakes up and sees the cycle for what it is. A trap, a drain, a cage dressed up as love. And when you chose silence forever, that was your breaking point. Not a moment of weakness, but a moment of awakening. That's why it shocks her, because she never expected your silence to be permanent. She assumed your absence was just another tactic, another pause in the game, another test. She thought the story would continue as it always had. With you knocking on the door, she slammed shut. But this time, no knock, no words, no return, just silence. And silence, when permanent, is brutal, because it forces her to face the truth she's denied. You are no longer hers to toy with. She no longer has the power she believed she did. The safety net she thought would always be there has vanished. And for the first time, she feels the sting of loss, not because you left temporarily, but because you're never coming back. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That realization is what separates you from her. She expected you to break because she never believed you could master yourself. But when you did, when you chose silence forever, you proved her wrong in the most powerful way possible. And now, every quiet night, every empty message thread, every moment she thinks of you and realizes you will never return, that's when the shock sets in. That's when she finally understands the silence isn't a strategy, it's the end." The Stoics understood something most people fear to accept. Endings are necessary. Life itself is a series of endings. Empires fall, seasons change, people leave, and the man who refuses to accept finality is doomed to suffer endlessly. When you choose silence forever, you are living out one of the purest Stoic principles, the principle of finality. The ability to say, "This chapter is closed. This cycle is over. This door will not be reopened." It is the refusal to cling to what no longer serves you, the courage to let go without demanding applause, and the strength to walk away without turning back. Most men cannot do this. They cling, they beg. They reopen doors that only lead them back into the same fire that burned them before. They confuse loyalty with self-destruction. They confuse hope with chains, and so they suffer. But the Stoic man understands there is dignity in finality, there is peace in silence, there is power in walking away and never returning. Because when you close a door with words, it can be reopened with words. But when you close a door with silence, with forever silence, it stays shut, and that is what gives it power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste the remainder of your life in thoughts about others, when you do not refer your thoughts to some object of common utility." In other words, don't waste your precious time circling back to what drains you. Don't waste your energy re-entering a cycle that only destroys you. Your silence is the declaration that you will no longer waste what is sacred, your time, your mind, your soul. And here is the paradox. By choosing finality, you don't just end the relationship, you end your dependence on it. You prove to yourself that your peace does not depend on her return, that your worth does not depend on her validation, that your dignity does not depend on her recognition. Your silence forever is proof that you are enough without her. This is the Stoic principle of finality, to walk away not in anger, not in bitterness, not in pride, but in calm certainty, to say nothing, to explain nothing, to seek nothing, because the act of silence itself says everything. And when she realizes this, when it finally dawns on her that your silence isn't temporary but eternal, she will understand the full weight of what she lost, not because you told her, but because you never will again. Silence has a strange way of growing heavier with time. At first, she brushes it off. She convinces herself it means nothing. He's just being dramatic. He'll be back. He always comes back. That belief shields her. For a while. But forever silence is different. It doesn't fade. It compounds. The longer it lasts, the more undeniable it becomes. And slowly the weight begins to press down on her. It presses in the quiet mornings when she scrolls through her phone and doesn't see your name. It presses at night when she remembers how easily you once responded to her and now you don't respond at all. It presses in the silence between her own thoughts, when the realization finally whispers, "He's gone, and he's not coming back." That's the power of silence when it becomes forever. It transforms from absence into presence. You are no longer physically there, yet you haunt her thoughts more than ever. You are in the empty spaces where your words once filled the air. You are in the unanswered questions. You are in the quiet doubt that gnaws at her pride. This is where the punishment lies, not in anger, not in revenge, but in the quiet realization that your silence is eternal, that there are no more chances, that she cannot call you back into her world with a snap of her fingers, that the safety net she once took for granted has disappeared for good. And here's the truth: the human mind hates uncertainty. It craves resolution, closure, clarity. But forever silence offers none of that. It leaves only questions, and questions with no answers echo the loudest. Why hasn't he returned? Why doesn't he try anymore? Did I push him too far? Did I lose him forever? Those questions grow heavier by the day until they become inescapable. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And your silence is the proof of that bravery. You were brave enough to walk away without fanfare, brave enough to resist the urge to explain, brave enough to choose peace over chaos. And that bravery terrifies her because deep down she knows it means you are free, while she remains chained to her own regrets. The weight of forever silence is this: she finally realizes that you don't belong to her world anymore. She lost access to you. She lost your words. She lost your presence. And for the first time, she must face the truth that she never thought she would. The silence is forever. Silence is often misunderstood. People think it's punishment, that it's a weapon you hold against her. But in truth, the silence of forever isn't about her at all. It's about you. It's not about hurting someone else. It's about healing yourself. When you finally choose to let go, when you decide the silence is permanent, you experience a liberation that words can barely capture. Because letting go is not weakness, it is the ultimate act of strength. It is saying, I no longer tie my worth to someone else's recognition. I no longer measure my value by whether she chooses me. I am free from the chains of needing her approval. This liberation is subtle at first. You notice it in the way your chest feels lighter, in the way your mind feels calmer, in the way you sleep without replaying old arguments in your head. You notice it in the mornings when your first thought is no longer about her, but about yourself, your goals, your path, your future. The Stoics taught that freedom is found not in controlling others, but in controlling yourself. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And when you let go, when you embrace silence forever, you prove mastery over the one thing most men can't control, their own attachment. And here's the paradox. While she feels the weight of your absence, you feel the lightness of release. While she wonders why you've gone quiet, you no longer wonder about her at all. While her pride slowly bends under the pressure of eternal silence, you rise under the peace of finally walking away. Letting go is not losing, it is winning in the deepest sense. Because it frees your energy for growth, it opens the door to new opportunities, new connections, new peace. It gives you back your time, your focus, your dignity. And when she finally realizes your silence is forever, when she understands you have truly let go, she may feel punished. But you won't be punishing anyone. You'll simply be living free. This is the liberation of letting go. It's not about her learning the lesson. It's about you never needing to teach it again. Pain is inevitable. Every breakup, every betrayal, every disappointment leaves scars. But what separates the weak from the Stoic is not whether pain comes, it's what you do with it. Most men let pain consume them. They drown in it. They drink it, chase it, beg it to go away. But the Stoic man, he turns pain into discipline. When you first go silent, the pain is sharp. The urge to reach out burns in your chest. The need to explain yourself whispers in your mind. The loneliness creeps in at night like a shadow. But every time you resist the urge, every time you sit with the discomfort instead of breaking, you are building something stronger. You are carving discipline into your soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way, and this is exactly what silence does. The pain that once threatened to break you becomes the very thing that remakes you. The longing becomes patience, the anger becomes focus, the emptiness becomes clarity. Instead of texting her, you hit the gym. Instead of begging for answers, you sit down with a book. Instead of replaying old arguments, you pour your energy into your work, your craft, your mission. The silence that once hurt you now fuels you. Every moment you don't break is another brick laid in the foundation of your new life. And here's the paradox. The pain doesn't vanish overnight. But the more you channel it, the less it controls you. What once felt like chains becomes fire. And fire, in the hands of the disciplined, does not burn, it forges. This is why Stoic recovery is so powerful. It doesn't deny pain, it uses it. It doesn't pretend the silence is easy, it proves the silence is necessary. Because only through pain do you learn strength. Only through absence do you find presence. Only through discipline do you discover freedom. And when she finally realizes your silence is forever, she will feel the sting of it. But you'll feel something far greater. You'll feel the strength of a man who turned heartbreak into discipline, silence into power, and pain into a new way of life. Many men believe silence is about punishment. They imagine her sitting there tortured, regretting, begging in her thoughts for them to return. And yes, she will feel the weight of your absence. Yes, she will replay the choices that pushed you away. But the real purpose of permanent silence is not to wound her, it is to heal you. Because the truth is, the cycle didn't just break your heart, it weakened your spirit. Every time you explained yourself and weren't heard, every time you gave loyalty and received indifference, every time you fought for someone who never fought for you, those moments chipped away at your strength. They hollowed you out. They left you dependent on someone else's recognition to feel whole. Permanent silence reverses that. It is not a weapon, it is medicine. Every day you hold the line, you rebuild the parts of yourself that were broken. Every moment you resist the urge to chase, you grow stronger in self-control. Every time you choose not to return, you prove to yourself that you don't need her validation to exist. You only need your own. Epictetus taught that no man is free until he masters himself, and this is mastery in its purest form. The moment you stop speaking into a void, the moment you stop begging to be seen, the moment you stop explaining yourself to someone who never listened, you reclaim your freedom. And here's the paradox. While silence may sting her pride, it saves your soul. While she may feel the absence, you feel the rebirth. While she may wrestle with regret, you discover peace. In the end, permanent silence doesn't just close a chapter with her, it opens a new chapter with yourself. That's why Stoic recovery isn't about revenge. It isn't about proving her wrong. It isn't about making her suffer. It's about finally deciding that your peace matters more than her opinion, that your dignity matters more than her attention, that your recovery matters more than her regret. When she finally realizes your silence is forever, she may feel the loss, but you will feel the freedom. and that freedom will always outweigh her regret. When all is said and done, silence was never about her. It was never about games, never about winning, never about revenge. Silence was about you, about choosing dignity over desperation, about choosing discipline over weakness, about choosing freedom over chains. When she finally realizes the silence is forever, she may feel the sting of it. She may replay the choices that led her here. She may even regret what she lost. But by the time that realization comes, you will already be gone, walking your own path, building your own life, rising into the man you were always meant to be. That is the essence of Stoic recovery. You don't wait for her to understand. You don't wait for her to change. You don't wait for her to give you closure. You create your own closure in silence. You create your own peace in discipline. You create your own strength in letting go. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Withdraw into yourself." The rational principle that rules has this nature, that it is content with itself when it does what is just, and so secures tranquility. That is your path now. You withdraw into yourself, not in bitterness, but in strength, not to punish her, but to heal you, not to prove anything, but to become everything. So let the silence stand, let it echo. Let it be the final word that needs no sound, because in that silence, you are not losing, you are finally winning. You are proving to yourself that the strongest man is the one who walks away without a single word and never looks back. Brothers, if this message struck you, show your strength. Like this video, subscribe to Stoic Blessing, and drop a comment sharing how silence has helped you recover. Together, we rise above the noise, and together, we heal through discipline.